Hey, I'm Carter Wild. This is part of my series on what kind of dog should I get. Now, today I'm going to talk about German Shepherds. Remember that what I'm talking about is just for pet dogs. I'm not talking about people who want to get German Shepherds for working line stuff, and you know, it could affect them for sure, but really we're talking about pets here. Is a German Shepherd a good dog for my family? Answer to that really depends. What kind of family do you have, and what's your experience with dogs? I like to talk about physical attributes first, just so that people kind of know what they're getting into. I've trained quite a few German Shepherds, probably in the hundreds. The thing that is most apparent in physicality is the size. Big dog. I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of, the low end. I think probably the lightest German Shepherd I've ever seen is maybe in the high 50s, low 60s for females, probably maybe a 60-pound female here and there. But for the most part, even bigger than that, 75 to 85 to even, I've trained German Shepherds that are over 100 pounds. These are just pet dog German Shepherds. I've had a huge and really wide variance on the different types of dogs that I've met that were all considered German Shepherds. The categories of German Shepherds are probably, there's got to be as many variations as there are breeders. Every single breeder has a little bit different take on what the dog is supposed to look like and how they're supposed to perform and things like that. And you can get them that are, sometime in the late 1800s, they were kind of combined from the German herding breed dogs to create the German Shepherd. And that was in the late 1800s. And so a relatively new breed, 140 years old or so, is a pretty new breed in the grand scheme of things. And they were brought over into the United States in the early 1900s. Now, some of the best German Shepherds that I find now are still recently brought over from Europe. Not necessarily from Germany. Some of them are from Czechoslovakia or even, other like the Netherlands and different places. I think probably literally any of those countries, they have quite different variances. And what's good is if you get a dog from over there and you breed it with a dog that has been over here for a bunch of generations, it's almost like an outcross. They have so many different characteristics that you probably end up with all sorts of fun new stuff in the dog. So big dog, they've been bred for work. The work that they've been bred for was, I think, probably the herding stuff it's not completely gone, not at all. But people haven't been breeding specifically for herding in the German Shepherd, most people, for quite a while. It's been mostly about protection work and different types of, working characteristics. So protection work is the really big one. In the United States, I think probably since from World War II and before even, all the way up until now, a large group of people are competing in a sport that used to be called Schutzen, is now called IGP, and it's gone under the various names throughout. But it is it's a sleeve sport. So the decoy or the helper wears a big sleeve on his arm and is presented to the dog as his the bad guy, and he has to bite on several different occasions. So dogs were developed over the last 100 years. Dogs were developed to do that sport really well. And some of those dogs could also do true protection work really well also. But it would call it a sport trap, where so if you train for the sport, eventually the dogs get really good at the sport and they're less good at the real life actual thing. But another thing about those dogs is that it's hard to decide for just the regular pet owner. Are you getting a dog that competed in that sport, or are you getting a dog that was really good at that sport? If you just show up at somebody's house and they're like, yeah, my dog has a Schutzen 3 or IGP 3, or we imported level 3 dogs and then we bred them, were they good at it, or did they just somehow get a level 3. Now, it's supposed to be a test that's hard enough that you can't just get a level 3 for nothing, that you really had to get it and earn it. But the truth is also a lot of people are lied to, and people say, oh, I have an IGP dog, and they sell it to somebody over here in the United States, and maybe they say it competed in Europe, and they sell it to somebody over here at 5 years old. Maybe it never competed. Maybe it competed, but it never actually got a level 3. So hard to say on that point. The actual dog's coats, I would say something else here about physical attributes is that insanely hairy dogs. Like, obviously dogs have hair on them, but German Shepherds are like, they just blow coat everywhere. They're right up there with like Huskies for the most part. Just undercoat, a couple times a year they're blowing so much coat. Their coarse overcoat is like long. They lose that all the time. Even people that are not allergic to dogs, I found sometimes have a reaction towards German Shepherds. Now, that again doesn't matter to me particularly. I like dogs. I have hair everywhere all the time. I got a bunch of dogs in my house. Not a big deal. But for some people, might be part of what they're looking into. Sorry, my dog is playing with children's trains over here. He's walking over them, I think. Right now. Good boy. Lay down. Good. So something that I would consider: size of the dog. I would consider the hair. Is that something that you're worried about or not? Now, when it comes to drive and behavior, what do you need as a pet dog? How big is your property? Are you going to be able to get out there? And if your property is not big, if your property is small, then you're going to have to provide all of the energy to get your dog moving and get your dog doing things, being active. If you don't have 20, 30, 40, 50 acres, then you're gonna have to be going out and walking your dog. You're gonna have to go out and throw the ball for your dog. You're gonna have to go out and play tug. You're gonna have to get involved in a dog sport, go on a run, have them pull you, do road work, whatever it is. So know that they are a higher energy dog if they're good, and a higher drive dog if they're good. That doesn't mean that all of them will be like that, but for the most part, a cranked up German Shepherd is about just as cranked up as any other dog. And their energy requirements are pretty stout. So we're talking about, a couple of hours a day, and just walking your dog is really not going to be sufficient. We're talking about they need some true physical stimulation. Absolutely. They got to be running, sprinting, jogging, pulling, whatever it is, playing hard. And let's get into, let's say, kids, other dogs, stuff like that. I've had quite a few German Shepherds come to me after they've been raised, so after they're adults, and had a myriad of different behavior problems. So I've had German Shepherds with human aggression issues come to me. I've had German Shepherds with dog aggression issues come to me. I've had them with both. And I've also had dogs that love people, love dogs, but were neurotic in some other way. Maybe it's separation anxiety, or who knows, they have neuroses based on squirrel chasing or water or this or that or something. So I think that it's important to note that a higher percentage of German Shepherds are going to be aggressive than some other breeds. It doesn't mean all of them, and it doesn't mean that that's correct, and it doesn't mean that you can't affect it by training. However, there is a perspicacity for a dog that was built on the purpose of protection to be protective. There's a high likelihood of barrier aggression. It's very, very easy to create leash reactivity with a German Shepherd if you're not careful. And just like any other dog breed or any other behavior that you don't want to start to be reinforced in your dog, you have to nip it in the bud quickly. So you want to train your German Shepherd when they're very young, because the consequences of having an untrained German Shepherd at a year old are much higher than the consequences, most likely, of having an untrained Yorkie. right? Your Yorkie is unlikely to probably seriously injure another dog or human. Your German Shepherd that's untrained, even without aggression, could still do that to somebody just by yanking you down the block, or by jumping on an old lady and pushing her over, or jumping on a kid or chasing a kid and having him scared so bad that he runs into the middle of the street. Now, so a million different things can happen with that. You have I have a lower threshold for people not paying attention to their German Shepherds, for example, right? If I see somebody walking down the street with a Yorkie that's pulling them on the leash, I don't like it. I think it's silly. You could easily change that and teach your dog not to pull on you. However, if I see somebody with a German Shepherd walking down the street, the dog's pulling on the leash, pulling them every which way, I am walking away, especially if I have my kid or my dog with me, because that's a potentially 100-pound dog that's not under control at all. So I'm not interested in being a part of that. So I have had, though, like I said, a higher number of human and dog aggressive German Shepherds than, say, Labrador Retrievers or something. And you might just roll your eyes and be like, well, yeah, obviously. But it's important to note. And I even had a dog one time come here, and this dog had, throughout its young life, had significant developments of behavior problems. And they came to me, and he was showing some signs of aggression. He chased a kid around the block and so forth. And they told me that the breeder had told them she bred German Shepherds with the personality of a golden retriever. And that's insane. That's insane. If you were able to breed German Shepherds that acted like golden retrievers, highly likely they would stop looking like German Shepherds and start looking like golden retrievers. Now, it is possible that a particular individual in a German Shepherd lineage does act more similar to a golden retriever, but it is highly unlikely that you will repetitively breed litters that have those character traits. And it's insane for a breeder to say that. Also, if what you want is golden retrievers, don't breed German Shepherds. That's just nuts. So I think that people get sold a bill of goods a lot, and these particular people had to give up their dog. They gave it up to me, and I found another home for this dog that was more appropriate, without young kids and with just higher energy, younger couple. Awesome, great. They knew the dog's boundaries. The dog still comes to me for boarding, and I love the dog. Everybody loves the dog here. But this is something that I feel very strongly about. I think that you need to meet the parents of the dog. I think that's the number one thing that you can do to ensure that you're getting the puppy that you want. Are those adults the way that you want them to be? Are they friendly with you? They look friendly with kids? They're friendly with other dogs and so forth? Okay, then that's the best we can bet. The rest is training. Let's see how we can develop this dog into what we want. So, big fan of the German Shepherd breed in general. I think that they could probably do with more outcrosses. They could do with greater variance in their genetic structure. So whether that's for sport work or pet work, just is what it is. I think that they're excellent pet dogs for people that have a knowledge of how much work it's going to take to keep them exercised and trained and managed appropriately. I think that they're excellent dogs for people who would like to do things with their dog. A lot of people just say they would like to do stuff. Oh, we're going to go on hikes and we're going to do agility class and this and that, and then they never do it, and the dog sits around the house, gets neurotic, and so forth. So they're for dogs. These are dogs for people that are actually going to do stuff with them, or that have big properties. The dog can really be free and enjoy all of the kind of natural elements. So I think they would probably do a lot on their own. And other than that, I think great dogs. Happy to talk more about it at any point. Let me know if you have questions. Please like this video, subscribe for more videos, and check out Wild American also for all of your dog training equipment and gear needs.